I am that I am, all light indeed. I am that which is you, and here we are in a gathering from all of us super duper doos. How be you, my glorious friends? I am called Saint Germain. I am indeed the light of the God that you are, and I welcome you to proclaim that for yourself. For I do not stand in the totality of that which you call God, but I stand in the totality of our union, which is all that is. So, let us bring the ideas into a form that you will have good conversations and a liveliness with. For keep calm and be the light. So many of you have been, over the last couple of years, perhaps thought it was so clever putting this crown out there and be calm and, whatever it be. And usually not an easy point of reference to calmness, the things that are going on in your life then, now, and into your possible future. So I am here to say with you that be calm is not that I say you have no right to feel nervous or no right to feel strong energy, but that you are reminded that your calmness is in your breath, your calmness is in your remembrance of what you know to be so, whether you think you see it or not, whether you understand it or not, whether anyone else agrees with you or not. For isn't that what's going on right now, right here in your world? People you thought you knew don't think like you. People you thought you loved and appreciated their wisdom, suddenly, how did they get so stupid and foolish? No, not that you're judging. Much. But it indeed is that place of the things that are occurring now, which is what we have been speaking of for decades upon decades with you. That there will be chaos, and know it as the sign that you are about to have great transformation. It may not be very comfortable. It may not look very good. And we are not by this, let me just say, politically, we are not installing the man in your presidency, and we are not behind it. We are supporting the bigger picture, which some of that we will have a conversation about. Some perceive that I am all for knocking down the cabal and blah, blah, blah. And that's not my agenda, so we're going to get that off the table right away. First of all, I don't want for you to think about the wars of the dark and the light. I don't want for you to think about the cabal as your evil enemy and all those politicians and all those behind-the-scenes individuals. The cabal, just another word for the demon, right? That's another word for the devil or the witchcraft or whatever is going on in the culture you live in where somebody has to be blamed. If it isn't the extraterrestrials, then who is it? And are they good guys or bad guys? And what's it all about? I know what it's all about is love. Do you know that? No matter what you think you see, the real energy in all of it is love. It's not either or. It's not love or hatred, love or evil. It's not light or dark. Because the light is inclusive. And the light is the love which is inclusive. And so we remind you that if you can begin to really accept those truths, you can relax. Maybe you won't find joy in every breath of it, but you will, in that relaxation, find that you are able to let go of your need to control it all. Oh, yeah, I know. There's a lot of people here who think they've let go of their need to control. You have. And then you haven't. And then you have. And then you haven't. You know, control is what the ego and the human nature, as you have defined it over all these centuries, it thrives upon that. It lives for that. It is, you've got to get self-control. You have to have breath control. You have to have mind control. It's all about that. And you language it in so many ways that it does become, in a sense, the permission to hold on, doesn't it? That if you can be in control of all that, all the things that you can control, your own emotions, you can't control your emotions. I'm sorry. That was a falsehood that you might have believed at one time. You can't control your breath. I dare you. Stop breathing now and let's see how you can control that. Someone is attempting to enter the zone. It is not a secret chamber. All are welcome. So the control you have often sought is just another name for protection, the false protection of your mind and your ego's identity. So when I say that, don't hear that I judge you or anyone for having that need or that false understanding of control. I have no judgment of that. It is you, often, who have the judgment that you're not doing it right. I've been on my spiritual path for how many years, but what? You're not doing it right, obviously, or you'd have been ascended and in full spirit by now, right? You cannot just be living your life day to day and not be in control. That would mean chaos, wouldn't it? Chaos. What a great thing chaos is. Have you noticed some of the messages that we send you daily have to do with finding the peace in the chaos? Yeah, how do you do that? Well, that's a good question. You tell me. How do you find peace in the midst of chaos without judging the chaos as something that is withholding your energy of light or peace? That sometimes the chaos is drama that you have invented, even if you think it's other people's drama. If it's in your face and bothering you, it's yours, right? So the chaos is creation. The chaos is the energy of movement toward fulfillment, toward newness, toward expansion. But you've perhaps thought of or know of the physical phenomenon known as the eye of the storm. That place in the center of a tornado or a hurricane where there is nothing going on except stillness. And you hear the sound of creation in that space. And you feel the energy of the chaos without being enmeshed in the chaos. Now, truthfully, if you were to have been picked up by a tornado and you kind of are battered around in the outer whirling and find yourself in the center, you may not immediately cease your praying for your life, right? Oh my God, help me. I don't know if I believe in God or angels, but I could sure use something now, right? So we invite you to recognize that there is no certainty, because based on your belief and your expectation, your calm in the storm may not be as immediate as what is probable. Does that make sense to you? That if you come into the eye of that storm, having lived in the chaos for a few spins and felt the fears you feel in it, and feeling the energy of seemingly out of control movement, you may find yourself in the center thinking, oh, I know what's coming. This isn't what's real. What's real is the stuff I just came out of. So you might not immediately come to surrender in it. So we've talked before about some things like that. How many of you are swimmers? Have you been in large bodies of water? Have you found yourself being invited to be pulled under with the toe? It feels a little scary. How do you survive that? You don't survive it by flailing about and trying to get back out of it with all your power and strength. How do you survive it? You surrender, right? You don't say, I'm willing to die, maybe, in your mind, but you say, all right. And you start to let the body go into it. And then you move beyond that, which is the pull away from life. It's another form of that chaos. So those are extremes, right? I don't suppose any of you have ever lived through a Kansas tornado, in the eye of it, right? Some of you may have been close to where tornadoes or hurricanes are threatening. Physical expression, as you think of it, is your life and your possessions. But yet, every day, aside from that huge example, that chaos is happening in your world. You get on the freeway and you're driving. And everyone doesn't follow the same rule and the same timing and the same flow that you have programmed yourself to do. So you have to be very alert and aware, right? And you need also then to be very willing to not drive like this. You're not going to have a very good experience, and you're not likely to get to where you're going with any sense of calm, because you can't control what all the others are going to do. And if you learned to drive in the 1950s or 60s, it's not the same world now, is it? And the numbers of vehicles and the kinds of speed and the many, many lanes of traffic, it's just a different kind of experience. So you have to be in the now and not expect everybody drives the way you learned to drive 50 years ago. Those of you who are old enough for that. Otherwise, go into your center point and recall another lifetime. You remember when they had those carts with horses? Certainly 300 something, 400 horsepower. It's an interesting name for it, right? Because it's not really the way you still maneuver yourself. In chaos, you have timings where the chaos is all around you obvious, like in your driving times. Or maybe the chaos is more obvious based upon the people you surround yourself with in your work. And they are upset about their lives, and their personal life and their work life come into be your world now. And you get sucked into that whirl of another realm of chaos. Or maybe you just get into your chaos by reading silly little statements on your social media. But you have to stay connected, don't you? But then what would you, if you won't be in control, because you won't know what's going on? So you have to read all those things, and you have to then be able to assess how many people you really like and how many you don't like. Oh, the lady that always has pictures of flowers, that's decent. And then there's the gentleman that always has some hateful statement about what's happening in your politics. And then there's someone else who's letting you know that if you really are spiritual, you're going to consider and look at these truths that are spoken in that way. So there's a lot of information, advice, and certainly invitations most of the time to acknowledge me, like me, love me, laugh with me, become somehow enraged with me in these things, right? So now you have many choices when you, on your social media, you can like and all those little buttons, right? And you become accepting of the chaos. Maybe it's not so chaotic if it's just jokes. Unless those jokes are the kind of joking that gets your mental body and your emotional body stirred up because you're laughing, because otherwise it will hurt too much. You know what kind of jokes I'm talking about? So I'm not judging those things. These are your personal doorways into living in chaos. And what if, my beloved friends, what if we told you that everybody is in the right place at the right time and is on the purpose of the divine plan? What if that statement were true? I don't hear arguments. You're thinking about it, or you don't dare to speak it out loud, huh? Everybody? Yes, everybody. So whether you like your current president in this country or you don't like this person, whether you think you agree or disagree with the things he speaks or the things he professes to do, none of that really matters for your spiritual well-being. To get in that, like, don't like, hate, anger, cry, boo-hoo, right? How is that serving you? All of that. Everyone is in the right place at the right time in the divine plan. So you are hoping, some of you, to hear me very specifically say, what is the plan then? So I don't have to worry so much. Just tell me what is the plan and I'll get on board with it. I just need to know the plan so I don't have to start controlling everything. Exactly why you'd want to know what the plan is so that you can be in your illusion of control. So I'll give you some hints. And I invite you to learn that surrender, the surrender you need to have when the ocean current is trying to drag you under the sea. The kind of surrender you need in the swirling chaos of a tornado in order to get to the center and be ready to land in Kansas. Oh. You see, Dorothy wouldn't have landed in Oz had she not been fighting. She'd have stayed right where she was, right? She'd have landed right in the tree next to her house. What if that's the story? That changes the book entirely, right? The movie. Can't go there. So your first step is surrendering to maybe, if what I'm saying is under all of the activity, that everyone is in the right place at the right time in the divine plan. Do you hear the mind chatter right now in this room? I hear it. Yeah, you're doing what your master sensing likes to call your yeah buts. I hear what you're saying, Germain. Yeah, but I know what you're saying. I understand that's a spiritual truth, but you can't be saying what I'm saying it. I am saying it. So, you don't want it to be true? You're having a hard time with it being true? Speak to me then. What is your mind chatter really about?
Feeling sad for let's say, the refugees that may be suffering.
Oh, I forgot you were in charge of that.
Okay.
So I'm not saying you have no right to your feelings, right? But you're feeling sad based on a belief you have about it.
Okay.
Not about what's really happening, because some are sad, some are upset, some are angry, some are afraid of the refugees we're speaking of. And so you have a neighbor down the street that you've never met that's feeling that way. Are you tuned into that?
I have become aware of some of it.
It's not about you identifying it, is my point. And it's not about putting a badge on. Look how empathetic I am. It's about knowing that all of that's there and doesn't change the truth that everyone is in the right place at the right time in the divine plan. Some of those so-called refugees, in their spiritual purpose was to be in that turnaround mode, to experience and to express to the world all that might be for them. So in your own life, how are you still a refugee? And what are you running from? Or what are you fleeing toward? Those kinds of ideas. That's your inner work, right?
Okay.
So we've had many conversations. It's just the new whale. Now, do you know what I mean by that? All the people want to go out and save the whales and save the dolphins and save the trees and save something, right? Not that there's no need to put your effort of love into many possibilities. But the saving isn't the serving. And now you're going to save those so tragic refugees. It's just tragic. And I say that with a facetiousness. Don't misinterpret that as that I don't care and that I don't have love And I don't have great gifts that can offer more peace, more freedom for all of those individuals in that circumstance. So, I mean, you can just think about God, however you want to name that, doesn't pick and choose who gets to stay and who has to go. It's not based on who deserves it, right? It's not based on, oh, this child shouldn't be suffering and this person shouldn't die. And all that's emotionally important because everyone who experiences those kinds of reflections in their life of a loss or a difficult circumstance, they have to reevaluate their faith. Whether the faith is in some all-knowing, loving God or a punishing God or whatever they want to define that, it's important that you realize you're not the one in charge. Your personality, your individual human self is not the one in charge of all of it. So that being said, do you feel better if you go out marching? Do you feel better if you donate or sign petitions? How does that help you to feel like at least you're doing something, right? Rather than just sitting back and saying, not my worry. Good, not your worry. If you feel called to make an action, so be it. So what other mind chatter is going on about all this? Why me? Why this? Why, what? What is the mind chatter? Tell me, anyone.
Evil persists when good men and women do nothing.
Ah, that's not true. That is another propaganda, I must say. It sounds good, and it can help motivate some people to action. But doing nothing is not about marching, signing petitions, and saving the world. That's the doing nothing is giving no sense of compassion and no sense of listening to what your role may be. And many people who are in this room have a role of absolutely doing on the outside nothing. And that's fine. That's fine. What's really false isn't about the doing or not doing, it's about evil. That's not my word. That's not my language, and I will never use that in a way that is definitive. For I am one with all that is. I am the divine light as you are. And evil exists in your creation, not in reality of the divine. It's not good against evil. If you want to live in that war, you'll always feel some sort of pain in war. You will not have peace and calm. Evil, sad to me, on some way of experiencing your whole life is not about evil versus good. It's about my good knows that it's all good and that it all serves. And if you're wanting to interpret that things that happen that are not nice, I mean to the human experience, whether it's Holocaust or any number of things, internment camps, and you can go on and on about the so-called evils of the world and how it is expressed. If your belief is that that must be prevented by action, when your action is being at war, you may squash it temporarily, but it doesn't make the integration and the healing happen. It just won't. When you define your life and your role on this planet as war, you're going to keep creating more war. You're going to have more and more expressions of it. Sometimes you think that war is only the place where guns and weaponry is brought about. And war is the argument. And war is the battle of parts of your being that need and desire to have wholeness and that are finding pain. So my dear friends, I accept that kind of statement, that evil will persist in the lack of doing anything or doing nothing, is all that temporarily. If it wasn't temporary, then dropping a bomb in Japan would have ended all war. Or it would have ended, and after the aftermath of the so-called Holocaust, and I say so-called because that's just a name given to an atrocity of human conditioning, then after that, everyone would say, never again, and it would never happen again, right? But that happens. War is threatened. War is happening. People are persecuted. People are killed in the name of whatever their righteous beliefs are. So how does that shift? I hate to bore you, my friends, but it shifts by shifting in here. It shifts by becoming at peace with all your inner war and your chaos in here. It cannot shift just by outer action. Temporary, and that may be necessary. I mean, if you are walking down the street and you see somebody who's just fallen on the sidewalk and you keep walking, well, that's just really not very compassionate for the most part. It wouldn't be conceived of as that, and you wouldn't even think of it yourself. Because if you walk past somebody who's just fallen and is really seemingly very physically hurt, you might be thinking, well, it's not my job to here to rescue you. St. Germain said, I don't have to save anybody. Yeah, that's an interesting dialogue. But I'm going to just say to you, you have to be in your heart to know, who am I in the oneness of this? What is mine to do? Not what is mine that others think is mine to do, not what is mine based on what the world is proclaiming. How many of you know much of the history of the Chinese coming into Tibet? A little bit, you know. How much war and fighting were the Tibetan people doing? There were little pockets. It was the culture, the philosophy, and the awareness of their purpose was not to fight back or to try to save that. They knew there's another purpose. So their action was to get on their little donkeys and Sherpa their way down the mountain, you know. It was not to just stay put, but it was also to fight back. They didn't have the weaponry and the things to fight back, and it wouldn't have changed. There's an aspect of their beingness that understood there's a bigger destiny here. There's a bigger purpose here. Would you even know who the Dalai Lama was if that didn't happen? And now almost everybody in all cultures have a sense, an appreciation for a spiritual calmness and a wisdom that man represents. Is he a perfect human? Of course not. But he's learned to laugh, and hopefully you'll once in a while get to experience his laughter. So, keep calm and be the light.
And don't fight. Destroy.
Don't fight. Do you recognize some of what that is? That's what some still call martial arts, meaning like the art of war. It's not war. It's the art of discipline and energetic alignment. So when individuals in certain pieces of Eastern culture know how to feel the energy, they don't have to bring out weaponry. They can bring out their own field of energy to move an opponent, to stop someone's energy right in its track by the energy, not by control. So here's good news. You don't all have to become Tai Chi masters or any of the other so-called arts. You don't have to do that. That's not what you came here culturally to experience, the full mastery of that. Good news. You don't have to sit in meditation for 8 hours a day, most of you. Oh, phew. I don't need to do that for my enlightenment? Of course not. But what you need to do to experience your greater light is to find those moments to absolutely put your focus on the light. So you're all capable of giving that 5 minutes, and most of you are capable of giving it 20 minutes, and a handful of you are very capable of giving it hours, but probably not 8. Well, somebody's got to pay the bills, right? So, beloved, I am that I am, all light indeed in the violet flame. We stand for truth and freedom and victory in this, the mighty land. We call this the mighty land because it is that which is an experiment in the processing of energy toward individuation in full expression, toward the freedom in its full expression. And right now, for many, it looks like that's in jeopardy, but I have to remind you, it is in the divine plan. You don't have to believe me just because I say so. I want you to believe what is true for you and to find that quiet calm in you where you will know what is so. And where you know what is so, you will know what is mine to do, what is mine to bless, all of it, what is mine to give love to, all of it. You know, for a number of months, since especially November, any one of the masters and the teachers have come to you and given you reminders and little exercises to expand your love, appreciation, and blessing to the individuals who are holding in the illusion of power in your country now. So here in this center, sitting on a little tuffet, there is a man with flaxen hair, smiling while he's scowling at the same time. And I want you to love that man. I want you to envision him not in just his persona body of a human, but in the light that he doesn't even see in himself, because you are big enough to know this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine, and it must be there. Why? I believe that he's not an automated, non-humanoid, energetic falsehood. He's very present. So, love that man. Do you have to like or understand all of it? Of course you don't have to do anything, but I command that you will love him, and you will love it all, because that is what serves you and humanity in its divine plan. So sometimes, like a lot of other spiritual practices or concepts that you receive or hear, you might say, well, I guess I have to love him so that, fill in the blank. I have to love this person so that we will eventually get rid of him. You'll make up stories about why you're going to love this person in order to have some manifestation of what you think, again, that controlling idea is the greater plan when you don't really know. But at the very least, if somebody is feeling in their own energetic body detached or confused from the essence of who they are, wouldn't it be a wonderful gift to continue to hold the vision of who they really are, even when they're not seeing it, or acting like it, or expressing it? Because as you do that for anyone, not in order to do anything further for them or for the world, but just because that's what's true, that everyone deserves to be loved as the essence of who they are. That's where amazing things shift and happen. Here's a true thing I will tell you. Some individuals may have one person or hundreds of people holding that vision for what's potentially there. And maybe that person commits acts of unspeakable things, and maybe they die, and you did not get to witness them being transformed. Can you guess what I might say to you now? Other than, none ya. It's none of your business. Here's what I'm going to say. The soul is eternal and time is not linear. Concepts that you may have heard before. So therefore, who are you to say that upon the freedom from all of that lifespan, that kind of individual wouldn't go, oh, I see. Oh, I know. Thank you. Thank you. The ascension and the completion and the returning to the divine is not determined by the actions that you think are the determinant. That's very, very old religious thinking. Very old pattern. And I mean older than the traditional religions that you even speak of here. It goes back so many thousands of years before the world even began, according to the Talmud and other documents, right? It goes to that place where in humanity it has been out of the fear and misunderstanding that some being, a god of some sort, and thereby sometimes kings or other beings on earth that are taking the place of that deity, are the police and the determiners of good and bad, of evil, of punishable and non-punishable things. So it's important that you can recognize that that's a myth that isn't really true, except it's true in the world that you make up. It is true. Huh? So if someone appears to have been doing no good, you don't know what their last breath and their last aha is with the divine. You don't know that. Or even in a linear fashion, in 5 years, beyond the physical lifespan, their soul says, oh, gosh, could have had a V8. That God in them will start to see who they really are. And thank you for your prayer and your vision to promote that. But like many things, you read the book and you watch a movie about The Secret and you think it's all about control again, that if I do X, Y, Z, then look what will manifest in my life. I get to make stuff happen. Good. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it's not so obvious. Your job is not about saving anyone, but serving. Your role here is about service. Not just about doing, but consciousness, service through your consciousness. Serving rather than saving. Do you know the distinction? Can you feel what we're speaking in that? Because there's a calmness that you will feel in your whole life when you expect nothing and accept it all. Yeah, but I get to have boundaries and I don't have to accept all that. I get to choose and you get rah rah. I hear that. And the more you defend your boundaries and fight, the more you're going to have boundaries to defend, and you're going to have fights occurring in your inner and outer life. Wish it was different. I wish there was a formula that if you do A, B, C, you are guaranteed to immediately have the result extraordinaire. But here's the irony. If you are willing to let go of your control, of your fear, of your judgment, is pretty instant. It is pretty instant. Everyone is in the right place at the right time in the divine plan.